70% of lottery winners go broke within 5 years. You have heard that statistic. And if you are like most people, you heard it and thought the same thing everyone thinks. They were foolish. They spent it all on cars and mansions. They gave money to people who did not deserve it. They were not smart enough to handle it. If it were me, I would have done it differently. That assumption is wrong, not slightly off, structurally, mechanically wrong, in a way that matters far beyond lottery winners. Because the real reason most lottery winners go broke has nothing to do with intelligence or discipline. It has to do with a set of forces that operate on anyone whose income jumps faster than their financial infrastructure can handle it. And those forces are operating on your finances right now, just with smaller numbers. Here is what that means in dollars. The average Powerball jackpot winner who takes the lump sum walks away with roughly 37 cents of every advertised dollar after federal and state taxes. A $10 million jackpot produces approximately $3.7 million in take-home cash. Most winners have never calculated that number before they claim. They make their first spending decisions based on the advertised figure, not the real one. By the time the tax bill arrives, the spending baseline has already been set at a level the real number cannot sustain. That sequence, spend first, calculate later, is not a lottery winner problem. It is a human problem. And by the end of this video, you will have the 4 structural elements that protect any windfall or income jump from the same forces that took down 70% of the people who won. I know how that sounds. Let me earn it. Before we get to the forces, let us look at what actually happens mechanically when someone wins a large lottery. The winner faces the first decision immediately: lump sum or annuity. The annuity pays the full advertised amount over 29 years. The lump sum pays roughly 60% of the advertised amount immediately. Most winners take the lump sum. The logic feels sound. $1 today is worth more than $1 in 29 years. And most people do not trust a payment schedule that runs longer than some marriages. What most winners do not calculate is what the lump sum actually produces after taxes. Federal income tax on a large lottery win runs at 37%, the top marginal rate. State taxes vary from 0 in states with no income tax to over 10% in states like New York. The combined federal and state tax burden on a large lump sum typically runs between 40% and 50% of the gross amount. A $10 million jackpot, lump sum before tax, approximately $6 million. After federal and state taxes at a combined 45%, approximately $3.3 million. The winner announced to the world they won $10 million. Their family heard $10 million. Their friends heard $10 million. Their long-lost relatives heard $10 million. The social pressure that follows is calibrated to $10 million. The actual number available to spend is $3.3 million, and shrinking by the hour. That gap between the announced number and the real number is where the first force enters. There are 3 forces that destroy sudden wealth. They do not operate independently. They compound on each other. And every one of them operates on normal incomes too, just slowly enough that most people never feel the mechanism until the damage is done. The first force is lifestyle inflation that locks in permanently. When income jumps suddenly, spending adjusts upward immediately. This is not a character flaw. It is how humans respond to a change in perceived resources. The problem is not the adjustment. The problem is that lifestyle costs, once established at a higher level, are extraordinarily difficult to bring back down. A lottery winner who buys a $1.2 million house has not just spent $1.2 million. They have committed to property, taxes, maintenance, insurance, and utilities that run $60,000 to $80,000 a year on that house alone. If the underlying wealth cannot sustain that annual burn rate indefinitely, the house is not an asset. It is a liability with a ticking clock. The same force operates on a salary increase. Someone earning $60,000 who jumps to $90,000 and immediately upgrades their apartment, their car, and their dining habits has locked in a new spending baseline. If the job disappears, the baseline does not go down with it. The lifestyle is stickier than the income that produced it. The second force is the absence of financial infrastructure. Most lottery winners did not have financial infrastructure before they won. They did not have an investment framework, a tax strategy, an automatic allocation system, or a key decision waiting period for large purchases. Winning the lottery did not give them those things. It gave them money. Money without infrastructure does not compound. It depletes. The infrastructure gap explains something that surprises most people. Studies of lottery winners consistently show that the amount of the win correlates very weakly with long-term financial outcomes. Small winners and large winners go broke at similar rates. The size of the windfall is almost irrelevant. The presence or absence of financial infrastructure is almost everything. The third force is social pressure that restructures spending from the outside. Lottery winners are immediately identifiable. In most states, winners' names are public record. The social consequences arrive within days. Family members with financial needs, friends with business ideas, acquaintances with investment opportunities. A study by the National Kanya Endowment for Financial Education found that a significant portion of lottery winners report being approached by hundreds of people seeking money within the first year. The pressure is not just financial, it is relational. Done. Saying no to a family member's business idea or a friend's loan request is not a financial transaction. It is a relationship decision with social consequences. Many winners find it easier to say yes than to manage the social cost of no. And every yes restructures the available capital in a way that cannot be undone. This force also operates on normal incomes. A raise becomes visible to a social circle. Expectations adjust. The person who got the raise feels pressure, real or perceived, to pick up more tabs, upgrade their social activities, and contribute more to group expenses. The mechanism is identical. The scale is different. Let me introduce the two people this video runs on. Meet David. David is 34 years old. He wins $500,000 in a state lottery. He is not foolish. He is not undisciplined. He is a normal person who has never had to manage this more amount of money and has no financial infrastructure in place to handle it. He takes the lump sum. After federal and state taxes at a combined 40%, his take-home is $300,000. He tells his family. He buys a new car for $45,000. He pays off his parents' mortgage, $78,000. He moves into a nicer apartment at $2,400 a month versus his previous $1,100. He invests nothing. He puts the remaining cash in a checking account and tells himself he will figure out the investment piece later. Now meet Rachel. Rachel is also 34. She wins the same $500,000 in the same lottery. Same tax situation, $300,000 after taxes. Before she spends a single dollar, she does four things. She calculates the real post-tax number, days. She locks her spending baseline at her pre-win level for 90 days. She automatically transfers $240,000, 80% within of the after-tax amount, into a locked investment account before her discretionary access begins, and she implements a 30-day waiting period on any purchase above $5,000. She then uses the remaining $60,000 to pay off her high-rate debt and establish a fully funded emergency fund. Same windfall, same tax bill, two completely different structures. Let me run the math on where they land in 10 years. David's $300,000 after taxes. New car, $45,000. Parents' mortgage, $78,000. That is $123,000 spent in the first month. Remaining $177,000 in checking. His new apartment cost $2,400 a month versus his previous $1,100. That is $1,300 more per month, $15,600 more per year. Locked into his baseline. His car payment on the new vehicle adds another $600 a month, even though he paid cash, because the registration, insurance, and maintenance on a $45,000 car run approximately $600 more per month than his previous vehicle. Dame, by month 6, a cousin approaches David with a restaurant investment opportunity. The cousin is persuasive. David contributes $30,000. By month 14, the restaurant closes. The $30,000 is gone. A friend asks for a $15,000 loan to start a landscaping business. David lends it. The friend pays back $3,000 over 2 years and stops responding to texts. Dame, by year 2, David's checking account balance is approximately $80,000. His monthly expenses have increased by $2,200 from his pre-win baseline. He has not invested anything. The $80,000 sits in a checking account earning virtually nothing while inflation quietly erodes it. He is not broke yet. He feels fine. The number is still positive. He does not feel the drain because it never arrives as a single moment. Daoyan. By year 5, David's checking account is effectively depleted. His lifestyle costs $2,200 more per month than his income supports. He is carrying credit card balances for the first time in his life. The car has depreciated. The parents' mortgage is paid, but there is no investment account, no emergency fund, no compounding engine. The $300,000 is gone. His financial position is worse than before he won because his spending baseline is now locked at a level his income cannot sustain. Rachel, at year 1, $240,000 automatically transferred to a low-cost index fund before she touches it. $60,000 used to eliminate high-rate debt and fund her emergency account. Spending baseline unchanged from pre-win level. 30-day waiting period on all large purchases still in place. She has said no to 2 family requests using a simple framework. She tells anyone who asks that 80% of the money is in a locked account she cannot access for 10 years. This is partially true and entirely effective. The locked account framing removes the social pressure because there is nothing accessible to give. Rachel, at year 5, the $240,000 invested at a 10% average annual return has grown to approximately $386,000. Her emergency fund is intact. Her high-rate debt is 0. Her spending baseline is the same as before she won. She ton hinhenen hinnisping locked a cent. Her high-rate debt is 0. Her spending baseline is the same as before she won. She ton hinhenen hudyu has added $500 a month in investment contributions from her regular income on top of the initial lump sum. The compounding engine is running clean with nothing working against it. Really, Rachel at year 10, the initial $240,000 has grown to approximately $622,000. The additional $500 monthly contributions over 10 years have added approximately $102,000 more. Total investment balance, approximately $724,000. Really, David at year 10, net worth approximately equal to or below his pre-win position. Monthly expenses still running $2,200 above what his income supports. Credit card balances growing. No investment account, no emergency fund. The windfall is gone and the baseline it's set is still there. Same $500,000, same tax bill, same starting point. Rachel, $724,000 in 10 years. David, negative net change from pre-win position. The difference is not discipline. David is not undisciplined. He paid off his parents' mortgage. He tried to help his cousin. He lent money to a friend. These are not foolish decisions. They are human ones. The difference is infrastructure. Rachel's 4 structural elements intercepted every force before it could do permanent damage. This is the part worth sitting with. The lottery winner story is not about lottery winners. It is about what happens when money arrives faster than the infrastructure to manage it. And that gap between income and infrastructure exists at every income level. The person earning $40,000 who gets promoted to $65,000 and immediately upgrades their apartment and their car is running the first force. The spending baseline is locking in before the new income is stable. The person who receives a $20,000 inheritance and puts it in a checking account while they figure out what to do with it is running the second force. Money without infrastructure does not wait patiently. It depletes. The person who feels pressure to lend money to family or split a restaurant bill they cannot afford because their social circle knows they got a bonus is running the third force. The social pressure restructures spending from the outside, whether the amount is $10 million or $10,000. The 30% of lottery winners who kept their wealth did not win a different lottery. They did not have superior intelligence or willpower. They had one thing the others did not: structure in place before the money arrived or implemented immediately after. The infrastructure intercepted the forces before the forces could compound. Here is the infrastructure framework. 4 structural elements that protect any windfall or income jump from the 3 forces. Element 1. Calculate the real post-tax number before spending anything. Not the announced number, not the gross amount, the actual take-home after every applicable tax. This single step eliminates the gap between perceived wealth and real wealth that drives the first spending decisions. You cannot set a sustainable baseline on a number that does not exist. Element 2. Lock the spending baseline at the pre-windfall level for a minimum of 90 days. No new apartment, no new car, no upgraded anything. The 90-day period exists because lifestyle decisions made under the emotional pressure of sudden wealth are almost always decisions that lock in costs the underlying wealth cannot sustain. 90 days of breathing room costs nothing and protects everything. Element 3. Automate allocation to locked or invested accounts before discretionary access begins. A minimum of 70 to 80% of the after-tax windfall should move to an investment account before the first discretionary dollar is spent. The locked account framing serves double duty. It protects the capital from internal spending pressure and provides a socially acceptable reason to decline external requests. The money is not available. It is not a refusal. It is a structural fact. Element 4. Implement a 30-day waiting period on every purchase above a personally meaningful threshold. For most people, this is $1,000 to $5,000. The waiting period does not prevent large purchases. It prevents large purchases made under emotional pressure in the first weeks of a windfall when the perceived wealth is highest and the infrastructure is most absent. Most purchases that feel urgent in week 1 feel optional by week 5. Here is the ranked action list, ordered by what the infrastructure math says matters most. First, before you spend any windfall or income jump, calculate the real post-tax number. Write it down. Every financial decision that follows uses that number and only that number. The gross amount does not exist for planning purposes once you know the real one. Second, set a 90-day baseline lock immediately. Write down your current monthly essential expenses. That number is your baseline for the next 90 days regardless of what arrived in your account. No upgrades, no new commitments, no expanded recurring costs. The baseline lock is the single most protective action available in the first hours of a windfall. Third, move 70 to 80% of the after-tax amount to a separate investment account before discretionary access begins. A Roth IRA, if within contribution limits. A taxable brokerage in a low-cost index fund for amounts beyond that. The account should be at a different institution than your checking account. The friction of access is a feature, not a bug. Fourth, use the remaining 20 to 30% for high-rate debt elimination and emergency fund completion first. Then, and only then, for any discretionary spending. This order matters. High-rate debt elimination is a guaranteed, tax-free return. An emergency fund prevents future high-rate debt. Discretionary spending is permanent depletion. Do them in that order every time. Fifth, implement the 30-day waiting period on every purchase above your threshold before making any large financial decision. Tell anyone who asks for money that you have a mandatory waiting period on all financial decisions and will follow up in 30 days. Most requests do not survive 30 days of waiting. The ones that do deserve serious consideration. David did not go broke because he was foolish. He went broke because no structure intercepted the three forces before they compounded. The car was a reasonable purchase. The parents' mortgage was a generous one. The cousin's restaurant was an understandable risk. None of those decisions alone was catastrophic. All of them together, without infrastructure to slow the sequence, produced an outcome that was entirely predictable and entirely preventable. Rachel did not keep her wealth because she was cold or disciplined or unwilling to help her family. She kept it because her structure made the right decisions the default. The money went where it was supposed to go before she had to decide anything under pressure. The lottery winner statistic is 70%. 7 in 10 people who receive more money than most people earn in a lifetime end up worse off for having received it. The mechanism that produces that outcome is not unique to lottery winners. It is universal. It operates on every income jump, every bonus, every inheritance, every raise that arrives faster than the infrastructure to handle it. The 30% are not the lucky ones, they are the structured ones. And structure is something you can build before the next dollar arrives. If you want to run these numbers on your own situation, your real post-tax number on any windfall or income jump, your spending baseline, your allocation framework, and what the infrastructure produces over 10 years versus what the absence of it costs. I built a tool that does all of it. You enter the amount, the tax situation, your current baseline, and your allocation split, and it shows you in dollars what each structural decision produces and what skipping it costs. It is part of the Wealth Logician's Calculator Vault, alongside every other tool we have built for this channel. Becoming a member gets you the full vault and a community of people who are actually running their own numbers, instead of guessing. If that sounds useful, the link is in the description. Hit like if this changed how you see the lottery winner story. Subscribe if you want to do the math on the next one.